Shall I do it?
You do it.
Okay, time to do the papers now. We're joined by the broadcaster Liz Kershaw and Deputy Editor of The Spectator, Freddie Gray, for one last look at the papers. And Freddie, you've chosen an interesting story, page 42 of the Times, no less.
Yep.
And this is all about Spain and the plight of the right.
Well, I think this is going to be the story of the weekend because it's actually about Giorgia Meloni, who's going to be Italy's Prime Minister, probably, unless something very odd happens on Sunday. And she is widely portrayed as far-right, even fascist. And she seems to be in an alliance with the Spanish far-right, Vox, party Vox. And so I think this weekend you're going to see quite a lot of panic about the return of populism in Europe. It's widely seen that since 2016 and Trump and Brexit, that right-wing populism has been in retreat. I think this weekend there'll be more fears that it's re-emerging, and Giorgia Meloni will be the sort of face of it. But she doesn't think she's a fascist. She thinks she's just a regular conservative.
And tell us more about her.
Well, she's quite an interesting character. She's obsessed with Lord of the Rings. She's very interested in England. We did an interview in The Spectator with her, and she's very interested in the philosopher Roger Scruton. So she sees herself as a sort of old-fashioned conservative, Catholic values. Some people think she's very bad on gay rights. But, I mean, her party is originally fascist. That's where the brand problem comes from. But she doesn't actually say anything that most Europeans would consider to be not.
What is it that's making her resonate?
Well, I think Italy's not had an elected prime minister for about a decade now. There's been 7 unelected prime ministers, and I think that the Italians are desperate for change. They nearly elected Lega, which is another populist party. I think they are looking for something to change the country because the economy's been so bad for so long.
Oh, well.
I'm off to Italy next week. Be interesting to soak up.
It's always great. Doesn't matter what's happening in the politics.
Yes, exactly.
What about Iran?
Oh, God.
Telegraph is.
Yeah, just briefly, I mean, same thing's happening in Sweden, isn't it? There's the elections there recently. A similar party to Vox in Spain came second, so it took everybody by surprise.
People, different politicians.
Yeah. Well, I just want to salute the women of Iran because, as we said earlier about protesting on the streets of Russia, it takes real guts. These protests started over the death of Mahsa Amini, 22 years old woman, was arrested by the morality police for wearing a hijab improperly, which meant some of her hair was showing. Can you believe it? She was beaten up and died in custody. And now there are women on the streets of Iran who are risking a similar fate by, tearing off their hijabs, burning them, cutting all the hair off. It just takes true grit.
I heard it being described as Iran's George Floyd moment and promoting this huge sweeping of outrage across the country. And certainly a lot of my Iranian friends I've seen on social media are all posting about this. Absolutely awful, as you say, so brave to protest.
It's juxtaposed with a story about the Taliban Minister of Education has been sacked because he was a bit soft on girls. He said high school girls could go back to school. So we are so lucky.
Yeah.
The freedom that you and I are sitting here, Isabel, with our flowing locks and free to speak.
Crazy. How on earth hair can be offensive? It's just bizarre.
Let's talk about weight in the Times, Freddie.
Yeah, well, this is troubling for me.
No, it's not. Don't be ridiculous.
By 2060, 8 in 10 people will be overweight, according to a new study.
Well, we will be here in 2060, probably.
If I am still here, I fully intend to be obese.
You're going to have a good life disgracefully.
But an interesting detail is that China is now facing an obesity crisis, which is new. And almost, obesity is the disease of affluence. So it's a sign that China is now such an affluent society that obesity is going to become a major problem. And, of course, the huge healthcare implications of having large numbers of very obese people.
What do they term? Do they say what specify? I mean, how do they measure weight? These BMI is kind of out, isn't
Kilograms.
Just but it depends on your weight, your height, surely. And
well, it does.
That your BMI is irrelevant.
Muscle mass. Well, BMIs are not great.
We've got one of those scales that can send waves through you and measure your
body fat.
Yeah.
Oh no, wouldn't get one of them.
Yeah, it's quite shocking.
One to know,
what percentage of so it's better than a BMI.
25.
I'm not discussing my body fat, but probably need.
It's always higher than you think it's going to be. This is.
Well, they say that muscle weighs more than fat. So
Yeah.
actually, if you're super fit,
Oh yeah, well that's the trouble with BMI, isn't it? If you're really fit, your
Exactly.
BMI
Yeah,
shows you're
yeah.
obese.
Yeah. Well, I noticed recently on visits to Spain and France and the Balearics
Oh.
that
He gets
people, it really struck me that the locals walking round aren't fat.
yeah, I totally agree.
Why is it that you can be in a beautiful French seaside town and the people there are eating lovely lunches, which the French...
Mediterranean diet, though.
Exactly, it's what you eat and how you control yourself.
You are what you eat, so you should be a massive ham sandwich. Having this morning.
Caught me out, didn't you?
I did.
Ah,
I
Big,
did.
thick butty.
It was quite something, Liz, I have to say. Fingerprints, Liz, finger pricks, I should say. There's a test that could
Yeah,
show.
this is good news
That's
because it
okay.
simplifies it. So you can possibly, in the near future, get a fingerprint prick test that shows whether you are liable to get reinfected because it tests the number of T cells that you've got
Oh, right.
in your blood and your immune response, therefore. And so it could decide who needs booster vaccinations or who can
that's
skip
a good
jab,
idea.
which is great because I really am torn about having
Yeah, so's my
the next
mum.
booster
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
jab.
why?
Well, I don't know, because on the one hand we're being told it's all over and we're all moving freely, although the Queen of Denmark, royal funeral story, caught COVID,
COVID,
yeah.
yeah.
But on the one hand you've got that, and then on the other we're being told, oh no, you must have the next one.
But it's still about, so it's a case of if you
Yeah.
catch it, you want to be able to, and another people who don't agree
But
with
if you
not
got-
watching, but if you catch it, it's about if you catch it being a bit unwell rather than hospitalised.
Yeah, but if you got a prick in your finger and it said you're not going to catch it, you won't
Well,
get
exactly. It
reinfected.
means that you don't have to use a jab that could be used on someone else. Presumably, it could be a saving, and I think that sounds great. How do you get your hands on a fingerprint, literally?
Oh, I don't know, you'll have to make an appointment
Oh,
with you.
girl, well,
Ring
there
up
you
at
go.
8 o'clock.
Freddie, I love the story you've chosen all about dad dancing, something I'm a big fan of. Any form of dancing is great, according to me. What are the stars saying about it all?
Well, that it's in your genes.
Right,
If you
okay.
can't dance, it's the fault. If you can't dad dance, it's the fault of your own dad.
Who
and this
wants
one's
to dad dance?
well, I certainly
dad
don't.
dancers look awful.
Oh,
This story
it's
spoke to me
funny.
because the last time I tried dad dancing, it was incredibly embarrassing. I snapped my Achilles
Oh.
and had to sort of dad hobble off at the end. So I have not tried dad dancing ever since. But now I'm going to blame
I have to say, I
accident.
don't see you. I don't want to sound too personal, Freddie, but I can't see you being much of a mover.
No.
That's
It
so
takes-
hard.
it takes-
Well, do you know what?
Stephen, to be fair, I don't see you as much of a mover. I
doesn't
think
dance.
I'm a
I'm not-
singer, but not a dancer.
I dance at home.
Do
ladies and
you
gentlemen.
dance in the kitchen?
I'm not offended in the least. I'm not a mover, and I should always be kept away from any dance floor.
Whereas I've seen Liz Kershaw I've seen you on the dance floor and all, and it's shocking.
gosh.
So both of you, shocking.
I need to see you on a dance floor, and I hope
Well,
to
I'm
be
very
soon.
enthusiastic,
Yeah,
that's
me
what I can
too.
say.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, did you say you've got to dance like nobody's watching?
Absolutely. There's nothing better, and it's good exercise too. Liz, from dancing to cuddles, what's wrong with us? We're all going soft this morning.
Yeah, I
This is,
thought we'd end on a
happy
sloppy, happy.
Oh.
So we all heart cuddle is the headline because it's the most loved of all the 171,476 words in the Oxford English Dictionary. It's been revealed.
Really?
People like hearing it, reading it, and saying it. Well, it's very
Do you
evocative.
like doing it?
Yeah, of course they do, don't you?
Well, I do.
Yeah, I know you do.
I'd rather dance.
Yeah.
Oh, you hate this.
You're not a
I love
cuddler.
how you just hate everything.
I'm a very cold-blooded person. Yeah.
know
I
what?
don't like the word cuddle. I don't like the assonance.
Oh, well,
Really?
if we knew what that meant.
Do you like a cuddle?
Do I like a cuddle? Not really. No.
Not even
Really?
your cat or dog or small, sweet little
I
daughter.
suppose sometimes when the children do it, when the daughter does it, it can be quite nice.
Aw.
But
Can be quite nice.
no, I'm not. I'm a cold-blooded person. Doesn't do it.
Aren't
Yeah.
Oh, you probably got sent to boarding school at 4 or something, and nobody
Not full, but
nurtured
yeah.
you.
No,
That's
no,
what it is.
I'm
Oh,
a very
dear.
emotionally mixed up person.
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
Oh no!
The Welsh have it. They call them cwtches, don't they?
Yeah.
And
Do they?
and that's ever so sweet. Oh, goodness, a cwtch.
So here's the least favourite words. Anybody know what they mean? Velichor,
Very chill.
syzygy, limerence.
You'll know all
Any
of those.
takers?
I
Surely.
don't know any of them.
Denouement, I know what that means.
I know denouement.
That's not
That's the
popular.
least favourite word.
Yeah.
I like
No,
denouement.
that's
Oh,
great.
cuddle. I think
Cuddle.
that gives that.
With a northern accent, it sounds even
Can I have a cuddle?
Can I have a cuddle?
Quite right, there's nothing better than a cuddle. That's what I say.
Do you want one now?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, this is how.
Can you do some dance round this one off perfectly? I feel left out, but I know that you would absolutely
we
loathe
shouldn't.
being human contact, so I won't embarrass myself. I'm feeling a bit left out, Stephen. Thank you.
It's nice to have a cuddle. We've done this on several
Many
channels
times.
over the years. There you go. But this is the finest.
Yes,
let
of
me tell
course.
you.
What a denouement. Yeah.
Exactly. Listen, Freddie Gray, Deputy Editor of The Spectator, Liz Kershaw, all-round broadcaster. Thank you both very much indeed for joining us this morning.